up, and well, the Dodgers have remained his favorite team ever since, but that's not why he's here today. Our conversation with Jack Benedict, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people, talking a little baseball with Jack today. My goodness, Jack, what a week when we look back to Rickwood Field and the Negro Leagues, and Willie Mays passes away. It's unbelievable the way it hooks up.
Yeah. He had made an announcement the day before that he was not going to be able to make it to Rickwood Field tonight. And then the next day comes and he passes.
Yeah.
His son will be there, Michael. But, that the other day I wrote down the 3 living members of the Negro Leagues from the Birmingham Barons. Was Mays, who played for the Black Barons. A fellow named Ron Teasley. He is 97 years old. He played for the New York Cubans and in Birmingham. And Bill Greason, who's 99, and he's a Baptist minister. After he played baseball, he played for the 54 St. Louis Cardinals, but of course he was at Birmingham too. And then, Willie was the other one, 17 years old, playing for the Barons there in Birmingham, and that field was erected. It's the oldest field. I'm sure I'm mentioning things that a lot of people know. 1910, and they refurbished it. Major League Baseball gave them money some years ago to restructure it. So the Cardinals and the Giants are playing tonight.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to me that I was reading this morning is about the Homestead Grays. Played Willie Mays and the Birmingham Black Barons in the last Negro League World Series in 1948.
1948.
At that field.
Yes. Amazing. I have followed the Negro Leagues for a long, long time. So I brought some of my stuff.
Yeah. And if you're watching on Facebook, Jack has some memorabilia.
Yeah, this is the Pittsburgh Crawfords hat that was given out some years ago at Pittsburgh, I guess. Of course, there's a display, as we all see, of the Crawfords and the Grays at PNC, which is really
it's really good,
really nice what they've done. I brought this shirt used to fit me, but I just have it as a display now, and it's about the Negro Leagues from 1920 to 1950.
Yeah, check that out.
And it has the emblem here of the official Negro Leagues.
Oh, was that the emblem of the league itself? That was the actual emblem?
Of course, the museum is in Kansas City.
Yeah, you've been there.
I have not. We were intending on going the last couple of years. I hope to make it next year because it's just a tremendous display throughout the years. And it says for the brothers who played and never got paid.
And never got paid.
That's what it says on the back. Yeah. And then I have some books, several books. In fact, years and years ago, there was a documentary about the Negro Leagues. I'm talking decades ago. I have it on cassette, of all things. But it's titled, I thought was really cool, Only the Ball Was White.
Oh, my.
But this is one, it's called We Are the Ship, the Story of the Negro League Baseball. My grandson got this for me some years ago, and the picture is, of course, of Josh Gibson. The art in this thing is just amazing. And for instance, here when you open it full circle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just
show that one completely to the camera.
It's just beautiful. It actually opens up and it has both teams on there.
Oh, yeah, so that's a fold-out picture?
That's a fold-out.
Beautiful.
Let's see if I can...
It's a fold-out picture featuring the Negro League All-Stars in their uniforms.
Oh, yeah. This is one here. This actually is this is Buck Leonard here.
Okay.
The black Lou Gehrig. Yeah. It's the history of the Negro Leagues is just amazing, and I learned more. I was not truly aware of Rickwood Field until I started reading about it a while back.
Yeah.
But
Well,
It's just-
when you grew up, for folks who don't know, Jack is 81 years old. So you were born in 1943.
Correct.
Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947.
Yes, and Josh Gibson died 3 months before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you were a little boy, this was all happening, and then as you came of age in the middle 1950s to the early 60s,
Sure.
The integration of black players into what then was known as Major League Baseball,
Right.
that was just happening, and so you were reading and hearing of the stories. There were some teams that just would not embrace it at all.
No.
And
No.
it was a very, very long time. But I think it was the Red Sox, were they the last team to integrate?
That's right, 1959. Pumpsy Green,
Yeah.
12 years after Jackie Robinson. And he was the last man. But, even when and I have some of those cards tucked away, they're on lock and key, that I didn't realize at the time. I mean, these were, I have Monty Irvin. I have the 53 Satchel Paige, which has his name spelled wrong because it has 2 L's instead of 1.
You have the original cards.
Oh, yeah.
From back then.
Yeah, 1953. And then, even more than Jackie Robinson, Campanella came up, Don Newcomb, Larry Doby. These are Hall of Fame players now.
Yeah. Yeah. But the fascinating thing to me about it all is there was an unwritten rule among major league teams that no more than 1 or no more than 2 black players on your team.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Now, Branch
Think of
Rickey
all the talent that could have been in the major leagues.
Exactly, yeah. Now, Satchel Paige made it to the major leagues, but the other guys didn't. I had a couple of notes here. First of all, maybe you've seen recently the interview with Sean Gibson, the great-grandson of Josh Gibson. I got a chance to interview him at IUP. A few years ago, Theo Turner called me. Theo, who worked at IUP at the time, former player and dean and whatever, and he said the 6 o'clock series is going to present Sean Gibson talking about Josh. He's going to have some display, so I got a chance to interview him.
Yeah,
and it talked about Josh Gibson. In 1972, my dad and I drove. He never had a license, to Cooperstown, and it was the first time I had been there. And the array of stars, I went primarily because of Sandy Koufax, but there were a couple of guys that got in from the Negro Leagues named Josh Gibson and Dutch Leonard. They were inducted that year. Satchel Paige got inducted the year previous. Ted Williams said in his Hall of Fame speech way back when, more or less, why aren't these guys in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a treat. And then, talking with my dad, as we talked baseball all the time till his 97 dying day, he saw Roy Campanella play for the Baltimore Eli Giants. The game was in Greensburg, and Campy was 16 years old. And Campanella's mentor was a guy named Biz Mackey, who was the great catcher of the Negro Leagues. There's just so much that ties in with what's happening now. I'm just glad that they're going to have this dedication game tonight.
Yeah. You think of the great names that came to the forefront finally in the 1950s, and I think the name that you just mentioned, Roy Campanella, is a name that has faded in the minds of folks who don't really consider players from that era and the era before then as among the all-time greats, but there probably was no better catcher ever than Roy Campanella.
Yeah, he was as good as you would find, and he played like 8-10 years in the minors or in the Negro Leagues until he made it to the Dodgers. Even when Jackie Robinson made the major leagues, he was 28 years old. There were 4 years he never played baseball, from when he got out of the service in 1941 to 1945.
Yeah.
He didn't play at all, but yet Campy was one. There were just so many. They talk about Cool Papa Bell and how Satchel Paige said, he was the fastest man, that you could turn out the light switch and he'd be in bed before,
He'd be under the covers.
It was true because the light switch was defective. And it actually happened. That's just amazing, you know.
So, as a young guy, immersed as you were in the Dodgers-Giants rivalry, now you weren't in New York or Brooklyn at the time, but you had to follow it from here in Western Pennsylvania. But Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, and
I played it the other. I have the record, and I played it online with Terry Cashman.
What did a young Dodgers fan think about Willie Mays and Monty Irvin and the New York Giants?
You know, I can say this, Todd. As much as I disliked the Giants, I never disliked Willie Mays, and I always thought he was the best player I ever saw. I just had great respect to watch him play. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really, you know. Now, other guys, you know, Willie Mays broke up the fight when Marichal, with the bat, went after Roseboro, and Willie Mays ushered Roseboro bleeding to the dugout, and he was sitting in the Dodger dugout with Roseboro after this had occurred.
Willie cried that day. When that happened, I remember reading about Willie. He just absolutely broke down crying because of what was happening there in front of him.
Well,
but you were telling me a couple of moments ago that Willie actually broke up a almost fight between Orlando Cepeda and Danny Murtaugh of all people.
Yeah, at Forbes Field, and you know, Cepeda picks up a bat and he starts, you know, going after the manager of the Pirates, Murtaugh. He was, well, like I said, he looked like he was an older guy all the time, and Mays broke it up. Mays was a great leader, and you've probably read and seen everything in the last few days, how he instructed his outfielders. And one of the broadcasters said, "Can you imagine Willie Mays pulling out a cheat sheet like these outfielders do to see where to play?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, the changes in the way that they go about it these days. But he really was a ball player who was 2 or 3 innings ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
He had a long-term look at, you know, why did he break up the fight between the Cepeda and Murtaugh? Well, because he could understand what the ramifications of such a thing would be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that, you know, just the whole thing about the Negro Leagues is amazing, and now, of course, they're incorporating, whether you think it's good or bad, the stats, you know, of the leagues. Mm-hmm. But that goes by the wayside.
Yeah.
Speaking of old timers,
but I think he was at PNC Park baking yesterday. I'm not certain of that or not. Mark Benedict just walked in.
I was, and I heard the great feature here, and I didn't hear it all, so I didn't know if you relayed Steve Blass's story from yesterday, but with Willie Mays.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was great.
It was
great.
Quick. He actually told, I had a client at the game, and we toured the press box, and we ran into Steve and had a nice talk. I found out later the same story he said on TV yesterday, and one of his first outings was at Candlestick Park against the Giants, and he pitched really well. It was like 8 or 9-2 victory, but Willie Mays' first at bat, he hit a weak grounder to the first baseman, and he was late covering.
Oh, blast.
And he beat it out. So the next day, Danny Murtaugh, a coach says, "Hey, Danny wants to see you in the office." So he goes in the office, and he goes, "I'm thinking he's going to tell me, great game yesterday against a good ball club," and so on and so forth. And he says, "Willie Mays is pretty fast, huh?" And he said, "Yes, he is." And he said, "You can write me a check for $100. And he said that, you know, you think $100, well, that's not too much, but my rookie contract was $7,000. So I thought that was a pretty good story.
Big bucks.
Now, what would happen today? You know, those kind of mistakes are made all the time, and they fluff it off. You know, there's no penalties. So I thought that was pretty. Steve Blass, 82 years old. He looked really good, I thought.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up with him, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
You know, we're out of time for this segment. Can you hang around and do another segment after
I can.
news?
Yeah, sure, I can. Oh,
Yeah, we can. Sure, we can.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jack will be back with us. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.
Do you ever have questions in your life? Questions that you are searching to find answers to? Hi, I'm Pastor Ben Blowers with the Indiana Wesleyan Methodist Church, and I want to invite you to listen to our church-sponsored program, The Voice of Victory, every Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. on this station, AM 1160 WCCS and 101.1 FM. Tune in and find biblical help, guidance, and inspiration for answering life's questions.
101.1 FM and AM 1160 WCCS, Homer City, Blacklick.
And it feels like this.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The house is hot, and heat rises, so we're just trying to get through it.
She's in Philadelphia, where it may hit 98 degrees this weekend. It's part of a large area of the north under heat alerts.
Stretching